What's going on, guys? My name is Jacob,
I'm Armando.
and we are the
The
Gospel
Gospel
guys.
Guys.
So we have some very exciting news. We have my boy Cam as our guest
Yes,
for this
sir.
episode.
What's going
Cam,
on, guys?
how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's amazing. We are going to this episode. I'm really excited. You know, last time we did Kingdom of Chaos, it actually seemed to really get a lot of interest.
Yeah.
From a lot of people.
Fun too.
Yeah, because I mean, we're just chilling, we're just vibing. But today we wanted to add Cam in here. I feel like just adding guests kind of just shows like the people in our lives and just maybe like their stories. You know, like you guys get to hear their stories.
If you've had enough of us.
Yeah, he probably had enough of us already. But Cam, brother, tell us about yourself, man. Give us a brief story about you,
Quick
man.
rundown.
Quick rundown? Okay. Try to make it quick. Well, I currently am a college student studying accounting, but outside of that, of course, ground base, I'm a Christian. And coming into that, it was a little different because I grew up in the church. So I had like Christian parents, Christian grandparents. But then like when the pandemic hit, that like made it all like really hard. Because we all like left the church, and I'm not gonna say like I didn't take that excuse to leave as well, because I wasn't really rocking with church a lot growing up. It was just in this big room with this old guy talking to me, you know. But then after I left the church, I started falling away, doing crazy nonsense, whether it was just with like friends, literally doing hood stuff, literally running red lights, running to like stoplights, and just doing the stupid stuff, drifting. But then after those 3 years, or during those 3 years, my grandma actually never stopped asking me to come to church. Literally every single Sunday, she would be like, "Hey, do you want me to pick you up?" And every single time without fail, I would say no. And I'm honestly so happy she stuck through with it, because the day after I graduated, I realized like a lot of my friends weren't really like friends. They were just like school friends.
Yeah.
And we never really texted after that. And so I felt super empty. And so then that week after, I was like, you know, Grandma, I'll go to church. And so literally after that day, my whole life changed. Like I felt like I was fulfilled again. Had a campus minister call me over to sit with them. I sat down, met a couple of these guys, and literally ever since then, I got up my Bible studies. Life just turned around full 180 and just got so much better after that. And here I am now, almost 3 years later, in like a couple months. And best decision, great life ever since.
Can you, if you don't mind me, because we kind of grew up together too. I used to hang out with you and your brothers a lot before you guys, you know, besides DJ, before you guys kind of all left the church. Can you kind of like share with us a couple of things you struggled with to kind of make your spirituality stronger, to make you the man you are today?
I gotta say some of the biggest things is, I think it was a huge thing with like pride, because having 3 older brothers and you knowing my oldest brother, of course being the youngest, they would like bully me or, you know, just make fun of me, tease me. And I can't say that I wasn't annoying. I was the youngest brother. I, you know, got my way. I was able to get anything I wanted or whatever. But then the pride was trying to not be, oh yeah, that's our younger brother. Like he's just the younger brother, you know? And so I always wanted to excel. I always wanted to be like one step of the curve. And like struggling with that pride, struggling with that like insecurity sometimes would take me like really stressful places, because I know all throughout like first grade through 12th grade, I was more or less just the 4.0 student. But that came with every time I got a progress report, I would just go to my mom and dad being like, hey, like seeking the validation. And I gotta say like that was a huge thing for me. And just having like the super like supportive brothers like made it more helpful later on in the years. Like after I turned like 15, 16, my brothers got like super like helpful and supportive. They'd be like, dude, like, no, you need to like go to college. Like you need to like be the brother that like goes to college and like
made it.
Exactly. That makes it. And I'm like, not to say like any of them haven't made it, but they just really wanted that for me. They really wanted me to go to college. So that was super helpful. But I know like insecurity was something that I battled with for a while. I used to be 300 pounds. And I was legitimately just this little donut Michelin man. And it was real bad. And I like lost all this weight, and that made sometimes my pride get a little worse, because I'm like, oh, here, I lost all this weight. Like, I'm like, I feel like I'm looking better. I'm doing better. But then even the opposite side of that is like, I still feel like I haven't done enough. And so I feel like just the the pride and the insecurity has been like some of the bigger struggles.
For sure. Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, because that can be. I mean, I wasn't really a kingdom kid, so I can't really really share that same struggles.
You know what's crazy, man? I feel like, and maybe you can back me up on this, Cam, but like I feel like us kingdom kids, like sometimes we end up not end up, but when we struggle with our faith, like we end up being worse than some of the people out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I really don't. Maybe because like
Yeah.
at least for me, in my opinion, my wife and I talked about it a lot. Like I think because we grew up not sheltered, but like, hey, you can't do this. You're not supposed to do that. The Bible says you can't.
Yeah.
That part of you is like, well, no, I want to.
Yeah.
You know, so when you get that point where like, at least, because even for me too, if you've watched some of our episodes, even as a disciple, I went out and did stuff I knew I shouldn't have been doing because I never done it before, right? So once I got that taste, I wanted more.
Yeah.
But you know, inevitably you end up knowing, hey, man, this is stupid. You know, so
Exactly.
But you know,
Yeah.
No, I gotta say, like that's super real. I was literally just I was at the pickleball courts yesterday, talking with some people, and I was sharing with them, and I was like, I don't know which one's better, growing up in the church or not growing up in the church, because like not growing up in the church, you may have more years to make mistakes and like have a bigger track record, but then growing up in the church may make you make quote unquote worse mistakes.
Yeah.
Because I was sheltered from everything my entire life. My family,
Yeah.
like instead of explaining to me like, oh, that's alcohol, don't do that, or like explaining to me why, they would just say, no, don't even look towards the
Don't even
alcohol.
think about that.
Yeah, don't even think if you
Yeah.
do, you're in trouble.
Right.
And then I'm like, what's so bad about it? You know, and then that.
then you try and you're like, this is kind of
Try-
good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was explaining that to them, and it got like, I know it got like super deep with them because they weren't even Christian, but they were even just trying to think of that. But that's very real. Like growing up in the church makes you even hear all these stories from everything that people are doing. You're like, well, look where they're at now. And that means I could probably make some
Yeah,
of those mistakes.
exactly.
You know, definitely before you're a disciple, you know, having those thoughts. But
Dang. You know, like that's something that like needs to be talked about too. Is like, you know, for me, like I wish I was sheltered from all the stuff I did. Like,
You know, I think maybe you can back me up on this. I feel like if you really knew, maybe you wouldn't, because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong again, but like, think about how many people you and I grew up with. How many of them are still here?
yeah, so few of them.
Yeah.
Almost all of my friends are gone. Like almost every boy that I grew up with that was like my age is no longer here.
Yeah.
Which is like super tough.
Yeah.
Every one of my brother's friends, they're no longer here. And I honestly think that's wild because it's like male and female, they're all gone.
Yeah, because when we were like around the same age group, there was like a group of like 20, 25 of us, dude.
Yeah.
And now there's like maybe 7 or 8.
There's only a few of us
crazy.
that can say
So just-
like we grew up in this church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to what you were saying, you kind of wish you were. I don't know. And that's the whole debate. You were saying, is it better to grow up in the church or without it? Because like you have these catch-22s. Okay, if I don't grow up in the church, I can not like willfully do all these things I know I shouldn't be doing because you have more freedom to do it. But then like I think that those kind of people end up coming to church. And from what I've seen in my experience, these people that I grew up with who became disciples then experienced the things they couldn't and they left because they valued that more. As opposed to people that come from outside the church, they valued those things, but they're seeking something more now.
yeah,
They
realize
like
they're less
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with me, like all the stuff I did was kind of like, this is it, you know, like.
Right, and that's why these people
yeah.
who've never gone to church are like, at least maybe went for a little bit and came back. They're seeking something more.
Yeah.
You know, but going back to what I was saying, the people who grew up here and found that sin, so to speak, they ended up valuing that more because they never got to quote unquote experience it.
Dang, that's something like, dang. If you guys have like your opinion, we want to hear that too, because that's crazy. Because for me, bro, I just wish I never did those things. But
Yeah, absolutely.
now it's kind of like, well,
Exactly.
crap, I did it already. So,
Yeah.
but now I'm here, you know. But
Well,
I
that's
feel
what matters.
like, yeah, with people who grow up in the church, I feel like they at least have that conviction, you know, like
Yeah.
they have that part of them
Yeah.
tugging them, like you shouldn't be doing this. But like someone that didn't grow up in the church, but they were just doing it because like, oh, this is fun, you know, like.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing
Shit.
too. I think that people who grew up here who have left, they're always gonna have that like that guilt because they grew up in church and they know they shouldn't be doing these things.
Exactly.
Even if I can like shed light on that during those like 3 years where I like had left the church, I'm telling you, like, I know sometimes I would come in on a random Sunday or something. My grandma would be like, "Oh, Friday Bible talk, there's gonna be food," and you best believe I would pull up.
Yeah.
But every time I would go to those, I was a cursing addict. Every second word out of my mouth was, I know some sentences were only filled with curse words sometimes, and it was really bad. But every time I would come to church or something after that, or sometimes I would think, or my grandma would text me, "Hey, like, do you want to like pray?" Or like, "Hey, this is a prayer that I was just praying like for you." I know I would spend like the next day almost like not cursing anymore because I would just feel that wave of conviction, and I'm like, "Oh, this is something bad." And so it's 100% like when you leave the church, I can guarantee almost anyone that grew up in this church and is now gone, whether they left at 13 or whether they left at like 25, there's gonna be that guilt,
yeah.
or something, even if it's not just like this shame, but just that thought back being like, that was something that I had, and it's like, not saying like their life was better then, but it was definitely like calmer and just had this like more sense of fulfillment.
Peaceful.
Yeah, because I know with me, when I was doing all the worldly things, I didn't get any fulfillment out of it.
Yeah.
Sure, I felt the short-term joys of those things, but again, the reason why anyone kind of seeks something more is because they're not feel like they're being fulfilled.
Yeah. And I think the sad thing too is like, again, at least from my experience, maybe you guys have different experiences with this, but like, because I still talk to some of those people every now and then. The answer I get the most about like if they want to come back is like, "Oh, like I don't deserve to." Okay, well let me ask you this: why'd you get baptized in the first place?
Yeah.
You didn't deserve that, but you did it,
Yeah.
right?
That's a good point.
That's very real. I know I felt that too.
For sure. I mean, you guys know I work with someone that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in the church, and like, it kind of sucked hearing like the things he says. He just kind of like, we were talking about, cause one of my coworkers got a Bible and he was showing me. I was like, bro, that's cool, like that's dope. And then he says, 'cause out of like protection, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was like, oh, that would make good for rolling weed, and I'm like the first couple pages in the Bible. And like inside me, bro, I was just mad, bro, because I'm just like, bro, like come on, bro, you know better. Like, there's something that's kind of probably frustrating him in his church experience, and for him to like, because he knows I am, I'm a disciple, so I feel like there's something said there that was kind of like,
You know what's funny though? He's never said anything like that to me.
really.
I mean, yeah, I grew up with him, so maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's why. But like,
Exactly.
I think that it's like I said, he's always gonna have that guilt.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, then I mean, I'm sorry. I wish he did. But I think for anybody else, 9 out of 10 times, that person's gonna have some kind of guilt for not coming back to church.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I was
definitely.
there the other day and I ran into him and he got like so like happy, like when he saw me, he was
Yeah.
like, "Dude, what's up?"
Yeah.
And like there was not a single bit of worldliness that I saw, and I was like, that seems like someone that like kind of like
That's
sees
the guy
you.
we knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
He because I know that's how I would be. I would see someone from my past, and I'm like, I have to act differently around this person. But it's like the whole feeling is like, why do you feel like you have to act that way?
Right.
You don't have to. No one's
Yeah.
telling you.
No one's
that
forcing
you
you
have
to
to
do that,
stop
dude.
cursing when
Yeah.
you're around me.
Yeah.
But I know even some of my like worldly friends that have never been to church, just from being around me enough times, they're like, they'll curse and they'll be like, sorry, and I'm like, I've never even told you to stop doing
Yeah,
that.
literally.
But they just feel the
They have
need
to,
to like
yeah.
they feel like it was like disrespectful or something. And
like
I'm
you
like,
said, they feel convicted.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I feel like that's a feeling that even when I see it in people that have never come to church or have never experienced Christ, I'm like, that's how you know it's been inside you the whole time. Just that conviction that you know you're not getting fulfilled by it.
That's funny because like even at work, bro, like if anybody comes to like oh freak, like they'll say the F word, they're like, oh freak, and I'm like,
The substitute for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or they're like almost cussing, like, oh my bad, Jay. I'm like, bro, like, well, I mean, honestly, at work, I don't like when they cuss, but when they're like outside of the clock, when they're not clocked in, I'm like, bro, this is your life, like you don't gotta be different around me, just just be yourself. I'm not here to freaking like judge you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's cool though, because if you think, correct me if I'm wrong, even the Bible it says the way you live your life should reflect, how you are as a disciple, and just the fact that people know that about you and they
Yeah.
want to act that way around you says a lot.
Yeah.
About your spirituality, about your faith.
No, definitely.
I know definitely makes me happy to see like people at least see Christ in me when they do that, and they're like, oh, let me like not curse, because they're not like, I can tell with them. I never say like, oh, I don't like cursing or anything like that. Like, it's not like I saying I didn't like it. It just, there was no fulfillment. It wasn't helpful.
Yeah.
And so like I know the reason why they're doing it is because I'm Christian.
Yeah.
And I'm like that. I'm glad that, you know, like you were saying, like they can at least see that within the character, and that makes it feel even better that you're bringing faith into like the workplace or into like you guys were saying, like into the chaos, like bringing that there. It makes it feel so much better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one thing that inspires me right now with that aspect, another really close friend of mine, he struggles with anxiety as well as of recent. And it's cool because kind of how you were saying earlier, like I have a lot of friends actually that don't even come to church. And a lot of them I'm really close to, you know. Some of them are open to it, some of them are not. But with one of them, you know, I kind of mentioned on one of the other episodes that when I had my accident, I've never heard him talk about God. And that was the first time I ever heard him say something about some kind of higher power, right? So that alone for me was a huge like milestone in our friendship.
Yeah.
But even recently, I sent him a reel that said like, imagine the devil looking at you and saying, "Oh, like why won't this guy give up?" As more like an inspiring quote, right?
Yeah.
And so he was all like, "Thanks, bro. Like I love you," you know. And so for me, like to know that he doesn't like fully have his heart in religion, but like he's open to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's really inspiring, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he knows I have that.
He's receptive to it.
So, yeah, exactly.
That's crazy, bro. Like, how you live is just super important. Like scripture says it, you know, and you can see it too. Like over time, when you're close to somebody for so long, you just act, you know, how we're supposed to be acting. You can see their little, like, you can see hearts, like some of their heart like start to change on certain things.
Yeah.
Like with Joe, you know, like that boy did not want to be part of no church, bro. He was like, I'm just cringe, bro. I'm like, hey, I don't blame you. It was at first, but you know, once you actually be around the people and just you see that example, it's like, wow, bro. Like you see their joy in life, and it's like you don't get that anywhere else. You really don't. Like no matter what, like how much weed you smoke, if you get drunk and like, you know, being, you know, sexually impure with like all these women, it's like it doesn't bring you joy. It really doesn't. And that's why it's something like I wish people talked about that more, is like the struggles of like people that were not like didn't grow up in the church and the people who did.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get into these questions, man.
20 minutes later.
Yeah, 20 minutes later. But like on that topic though of like things that we want to be like talking about more, because a lot of things that are not talked about a lot in, you know, in our faith, because it's like there is some things that are just unanswered in the Bible, like we just don't know, and that's just requires faith and trust. Like even dating, bro, there's nothing about dating in the Bible, but we date.
You just said you're my wife now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many times I've heard it from Josh, the minister in Northridge.
Yeah.
But he's like, dating is only like 100 so odd years old. Like dating is not.
It's
been
very
around.
recent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very new.
recent.
Before it was just like, oh no, I think you're really cool. Like
Let's
we
get
should
married.
Get married.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back then it was like so much easier because I mean, probably changed with all the different laws, different tangent.
Yeah.
But like back then it was like, oh, let's get married. Oh, this isn't working out. Let's get unmarried or something. And it was like, yeah, you just keep your stuff, I'll keep my stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm guessing with all the different marriage laws that started happening, people are like, I think we need to test run this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
dating came around.
Right.
There's like a lot of things that are unspoken about.
Exactly.
There's one thing that I'm like that is not really talked about a lot is like mental health. So like what's something you you wish people talked about more when it comes to faith and mental health?
Dude, I know something that even I was talking with a friend recently about is like when it comes to like stress and like hardships, I know with me, I like a lot of people feel like if someone seems down or someone seems stressed, you know, the encouragement is like what they need. They're like, no, bro, like you got this. Like, no, you're gonna get through this. Like I've seen you do it before. Like you got like this. Like there's no battle that's too hard. Like God's got you. And I'm like, sure, that's definitely like helpful and all, but I feel like that's all I've heard. Like my whole life is like, yeah, you got this. Just keep going. And I'm like, one of these days that's not gonna work.
You can only take so much of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know something that I started feeling and started thinking about more when I started like having like these nightly calls with like my mom was that whenever I would talk to her about something stressful, she'd give me like the real answers. I'd be like, Mom, like I have this job, I have church, I have full-time school, playing volleyball, I'm trying to do all these different things. And she's like, have you thought of quitting your job? And I'm like, no one has said that.
Yeah,
No
literally.
one says that. No one's trying to be like, well, do you want to give up? You know, because normally people think that's like weakness. And it's like, there's 100% strength in that.
She's like, do you want to be homeless?
Exactly. But yeah, no, she was, but yeah, because it's like, I know with me, working at my little part-time minimum wage job, I know it wasn't something that I needed, but it was something that I wanted, so that way I can like toss it on my resume.
Yeah.
So that way, because I've never had a job before. And
Yeah.
she's like, you have enough money like saved up for like the rest of college. Like you could quit if it gets too stressful. And sometimes I realize like instead of like the encouragement, I just want to feel like my feelings are valid and
Yeah.
like the thoughts that I'm having are scary and
Yeah.
terrifying. Like when I tell people like, dude, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. I'm so stressful. I'm having like these tough nights, and they're like, man, what you're doing is hard. Like instead of being like, nah, bro, you got this, or like, man, you always pull through in these situations. Like, no, what you're doing is hard and super stressful. Like your mind is probably just not right now because of how much stress you're going through. And sometimes when I even hear those, either way it being helpful of me being like, you know what, that's valid, let me work through this, or hearing them say it's hard and being like, you know what, I know it's hard, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and I know either way that side of it has been more helpful than people saying like, bro, I'm so proud of you for like doing all this, and I'm like, I don't want to be totally proud of me. Like I don't need that.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to be heard sometimes, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you my humorous answer first, hopefully. Do you watch The Office?
My dad does religiously.
Yeah.
I hear it. a
I
lot.
have too. I know you do. There's one episode where the episode where Michael is gonna jump from the top of the building. He goes, I couldn't be you. You wake up every day and have to be you. You Braveheart.
You're Braveheart.
He goes, I Braveheart. But yeah, my spiritual answer. I absolutely agree with you, especially with me like dealing with anxiety recently. Sometimes I don't need although sometimes I would like it, like a medical answer to why I feel how I feel. I don't care about that sometimes.
Yeah.
I just want to hear that I'm okay.
Exactly.
Everything's going to turn out fine. And what I'm doing is enough. You know, sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. Even with therapy, like my therapist is very, he likes to focus on positive like affirmation. And so it's more of like, okay, well, like take what could be the worst case scenario. Like what's the worst that could happen? And then apply the best case scenario. Because what are the odds the worst thing is going to happen? Like in my case, my anxiety revolves around my health for whatever reason. I think I'm going to have a heart attack. And then even to a lot of people I talk to, like, dude, like, if you would have had a heart attack, like, it would have happened already. You're still here. Like, okay, yeah, I've been feeling this for like 7 months. I'm not dead yet. Okay, I'm probably not gonna have a heart attack. You know, at least I hope not. You know, but even the Bible, man, like, I think the Bible gives us very simple solutions, and we just don't look for them. Like, I think about the story with, I think it was Elijah, how he was so stressed out, and he took a nap and ate, and he was like, I'm fine now.
Yeah.
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes that's all it takes. You know, or even just like something I started doing like recently is I love listening to music, right? But sometimes I'm just so overwhelmed that like I'll just turn it off and like go for a drive and just listen to the engine roar and just like I feel like I'm connecting with God.
Yeah.
Just going on a long like not a long trip, but like just a long strip of road, just cruising down, listening to nothing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes we need that. You know, like there's so much going through our heads that you know we want to hear that. Like, at least for me too, I want to hear that people are proud of me.
Yeah.
Right, but again, going back to what you said, sometimes I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
I just want to be validated and listened to. I just want to hear that I'm going to be okay. And sometimes we can hear that from God if we listen for it. You know, I think that is something I'm learning recently where it maybe can help you too. But like, you know, as men, we carry a lot of weight. And women do too. You know, we have our separate roles. But I think in my case, because, you know, I want to provide, I want to get a better job. I want to make more money to like help out my brother with school if I can. But this and this and that, right? And sometimes it gets so overwhelming in my head where I'm like, okay, I just need to shut everything off. You know, just take a nap maybe mentally. You know. So I think that's what's been helping me recently a lot, at least, is just shutting down. Not emotionally, but just, okay, just let me listen to God. And maybe it's just something different for you. Maybe it's not going out on a long drive or whatever. Maybe it's just sitting in your room and just not doing anything. You know, I don't know if you have any opinions on that, Jacob.
On the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about it, man. And I would like this when you were speaking. I'm just thinking about like sharing what happened, because I didn't really share it when the first episode when testimony. Because I was like, it's a little dark. But I feel like maybe this could help somebody, and it's because I have a coworker. I'm not gonna say his name, but he he's going through a lot mentally, and it's hard to be there because it's like he feels God is like silent, you know. And I'm trying to like explain how to like just trust him, but it sucks, bro, because when I was going through that, like when I say like I want people to talk more about like the mental health side
Yeah.
as a Christian, because we still have those problems, man. Like last year in June, you know, like I almost ended my life, and that's close, really close. And it was very hard because it did feel like God was silent, you know, like I felt like that he wasn't hearing me, and I didn't know where to go. Like people were just telling me like, you know, bro, like I'm here for you, but it's like that's not what I want to hear, bro.
Yeah.
Like I need something. Like I need something more. Like I like you just honestly you just want God to tell you like you're okay.
Yeah.
And
Hear
it's
the
hard
answer.
sometimes, and it was really hard for me, man. It came to a realization where it's like I was stuck in this like victim mentality of just be feeling sorry for myself, and I had to really realize like I need help, and it's super important. Like as a disciple, like just cause like you don't have to always be like, oh, I'm trusting in God, I can get through this. Because at that point, you're kind of just doing it. You're only trying to trust yourself, because you're just saying like, oh, God's got me. But if you're really going through those things, like God is gonna allow things to happen to help you.
Yeah.
And for me, like I was super grateful that Dr. Greg gave me some counseling lessons, and that really like truly helped me to find like better peace and just different perspectives on life. But the reason like I share that is because like I have a coworker, man. He was crying yesterday. Like I felt bad, bro. Like it hurt me because I want to be there for him because I know what he's feeling. Like we have a very similar past for some reason. Like, I feel like God put him here in my life for I don't know what reason yet, but man, he's like really going through it, man, and it hurt to just see it because like I know the pain he's feeling, and I'm trying not to give him the answers I didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
You know, but and I'm telling him like, bro, you need to seek help. Like when I say, bro, like go to therapy, do something, you need to do it, because if you keep trusting yourself, but he's like, no, it's embarrassing. Like I'm like, bro, that's your ego, it's your pride. Don't let your pride stop you from making a bad decision.
I never thought I would be in therapy, honestly.
Yeah,
And here I am.
me neither, bro.
You know?
I thought it was like weak, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was like that's a sign of weakness. Absolutely not, bro. Like if you really trust God, then you're gonna trust that He gave you resources to get help.
It's a sign of strength.
Exactly. And if you're trying to just do it on your own and figure it out, you're gonna take an L. Like I almost did. I mean, I almost lost my life, but it was because I was trusting myself for so long until I had to just put my pride and ego aside. For like, you know what, God is giving me resources. I need to take it. Because people think that God's just gonna zap your feelings away. Like, no, He's going to give you opportunities to get your life in order. You know.
It's gonna make you go through it.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. I think that something else I've been learning lately too, more of at least, is that sometimes God does feel silent, but I think that's when he's working the most. But I think to kind of like bounce with that, like what you were saying, if you're just trusting yourself to like get yourself past that, then you're not letting God work. You know, so if you're not letting God work, then how's it gonna get better?
Exactly. I know, like kind of what you were saying earlier, about like just sitting in silence and like doing nothing. I feel like that's very important because I know sometimes whenever things are super stressful and if I've been studying for like 4 or 5 hours, sometimes I'm like, okay, I need like a break or like, you know, I need to take a step back because I'm feeling super stressed. And the first thing I do is I don't give myself a break. I go on YouTube or I go on, you know, any like YouTube shorts and whatnot. Back when I had social media, I would go on TikTok and I would just scroll and scroll. And like, that is like the opposite of a break. You're just loading your brain more,
Yeah.
and you're not giving it a chance to like recuperate itself.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes I'll do that, and I'm like, okay, I'm way too stressed. I'm just gonna tell myself I need to relax right now, and then I'll immediately go on YouTube, and that is no longer relaxing, but you're disassociating, and you're trying to act like the things don't exist.
Yeah.
And I know one thing that is helpful for me, and I only do it sometimes. I need to do it more, honestly, is like stop, sit there, and be like, these things are tough. These things are really stressful. They're things that I need to get done. Probably going to be stressed for this next week. Just probably is going to be how it is. I may lose an hour of sleep here or there. I may not be able to hang out with that brother this week. But for this time, it's not going to be forever. But it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But I know that with God, I can get through that. And then sometimes that's just what God is waiting for you to be like, okay, you understand you're in a stressful situation now. Now you know you need to come to me. Rather than just disassociating and then going right back into it and being like, why isn't it this any different?
Right.
You know?
I think, you know what I think the most simple solution in the world is? And this one's for the girlies. Just cry. Honestly, just let it out, man.
Feels
You gotta
good
cry.
sometimes.
I know some people are literally in, like, I've never seen my stepdad cry. Ever. I've heard he has, but I've never seen it. So, like, I think for me, I'm a really emotional person. So I think that because I know that, I try to keep things inside. But even, like, I cried yesterday.
Yeah.
I was really overwhelmed by a lot of stuff. Nothing, like, crazy. Just, work, relationship, the house, this and that.
Yeah.
And so my wife, like, took note and she's like, hey, like, what's wrong? I texted her, like, everything I was thinking. Like, I cried at work. And I was like, okay, feel a little better. Sometimes you just need that.
We really,
You
yeah.
know?
We gotta set our pride aside, bro. Like, if you gotta cry, bro, just let it out.
Yeah.
Truly, just let it out, bro.
100%. I feel like that is the realist. I literally didn't cry for like 7 years. And first of all, I love that number because it was growing up. My dad always told me it's good advice depending on who you want to become. But he would always be like, oh yeah, like big men don't cry, big men don't rub it. Like whenever they get hurt, like they don't rub their pain or anything like that. He's like, we just push through. And like, sure, when I was a little kid, like maybe that's something I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
That's definitely not something I wanted to instill in my life. And so I never cried. There would be like sad things. I'd be at like a funeral and I'm like, I need to be the rock here.
Right.
I need to like not cry. But the first time I cried after those 7 years was during a study. I think we were doing the cross, and I was like, dude, I don't know what it was, but just hearing all the stuff that like Jesus went through just started making me bawl and just started making me cry and cry. And literally, I think like since then, I'll cry like once a week or something, just whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Just be so happy that I'm just crying to God, or like, God, I'm real stressful right now. I'm just gonna talk to you right now, and whatever comes out is gonna come out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sometimes just even screaming, not like at God, but screaming to God about how like tough things get, sometimes will get me crying.
Yeah.
But it's the most therapeutic feeling
Absolutely.
ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what's crazy is this next question is gonna kind of like tie into what we were talking about, like when he's silent, but he's just working. Do you think we sometimes mistake God's silence for absence?
Exactly like what we were saying, like when it's in the silence. I also I feel like I was looking at my brother with his kid, like with his son, and sometimes the father is silent when they see their kid's about to do something stupid. And I low-key like love that nature, because like God will sometimes just be watching us and it's like, I set this up for him. Let's see what he does. Like I'm giving him like this chance, or I already told him not to do this. Let's see what he does. It's like we go into this sometimes, and he's like, and it's, of course, like a father has a natural urge to like protect, but also to like help their son or daughter learn.
Yeah.
And so they'll be running around the house, and I know that's what happened to my nephew. Sometimes he'll be running around the house, and I know my brother told him enough times to be careful, but then sometimes he'll bonk his head. And my brother isn't just all like, oh, are you okay? But it's like, I told you not to do that. And then immediately after that, he'll be like, bro, are you okay? And I feel like that's what God does sometimes. Like, he'll be silent, but he's like, just the whole time he's like, like I gotta let him do this, you know.
And I think that goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the episode. Like, we all know the things that we should and shouldn't be doing.
Exactly.
But God lets us do it.
Exactly.
We have to learn somehow.
Yeah.
You know.
But then he never lets us get too hurt.
Yeah.
He never lets us go fall into something so bad to where we get pulled away. Like,
Dude,
I've
that was-
gotten pretty
right.
close.
That was my thing too. Like going back to my accident, man. Like, I think about that every single day. First of all, but like I kind of shared in the first episode, like I felt like I was kind of moving away from God at that time, at least not focusing on God the way I should have, and that was my like get back into it. Cause like, have you seen the pictures?
Yeah, I saw.
Like, I shouldn't be here, bro. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, but that was God's like, okay, I'm gonna let this happen because like you need to come back.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, some people don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
But I mean, that can go into even how you were saying in one of our first episodes. Like, sometimes God needs to let those things happen because you need it. You know. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you, dude.
Yeah,
like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes there's miracles like that where you can just tell God is present. Because I got in a car accident. It was my second day ever going to school. I've never really commuted, never really drove on the freeways too much before. Just got a new car. And so I'm just this total noob, but I'm over here feeling cocky.
Top of the world.
Yeah, on top of the world, feeling cocky, feeling invincible. And you just believe on the second day of school, my way home, I got in a 4-car pileup that I caused. And I saw these cars spinning across the freeway, running into like the sides of the wall. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know who I've killed, but I've just done this incredibly stupid thing. And the miracle and like the worry dripped off my face the second I saw each and every one of the doors open. And just one dude stands out. And I'm like, you're telling me I got in a 4-car pileup. There's not a single woman, not a single child, only one person in each car. They're all men, and all the damage is on the opposite side of the car from where the driver was. Wow. I'm like, I don't think God could speak more than that. And I'm like, bro, someone should have died.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's insane. Not a single person injured, not a single person to the hospital. I was like, bro, and I know immediately after that, I have not gotten in like close calls, little fender benders, nothing. I'm too scared now. God had to wake me up. He's like, "You're not invincible. You're not invincible." I was being silent here, letting you do this, but look what you got yourself into. You got yourself hurt. I protected you, but you have to realize what could have happened. And like, amazing.
Do you think that God was trying to tell you something with that accident?
Oh, 100%.
What do you think it was?
I feel like it was a big thing for pride, and also just like I feel like that was another big thing, like God had his hand on me, because I feel, again, super undeserving of this, and of course, we're all undeserving of God, but my mom, even just more recently, had like 2 heart attacks, and I'm like, why is she still alive? I'm like, not in a bad way, of course, but I'm like, God, I don't deserve this. Like, you are covering me in so many blessings. You've had your hand on me my entire life. I've made really dumb decisions, running stop signs and red lights and all this different stuff when I was literally underaged, driving a car that wasn't mine, but it was my friend's with no permit or nothing, and just doing all this crazy stuff. But God has always had his hand over me. And I felt like that crash kind of taught me, or like let me reconstruct that thought of being like, okay, God has his hand on me, like I'm invincible, like I got this, to God being like, no, I got my hand on you, but I'm gonna let you get hurt. I'm gonna let you mess up. And he's like, you have to realize that, like, I'm here to protect you, but you have to make sure you reach out and grab my hand. And that, I know that humbled me a lot more. Like, it was a huge humbling moment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think when like God is silent, we definitely can mistake it for being absent, because it's just our human nature, bro. We're just like, where are you? Because I'm not gonna just always be like, God, I know you're working through the silence. Like, real talk. Like, there's times where my sinful nature's kind of like, God, like, where you at? Like, you being quiet. Like, are you not here and stuff? But I think he intentionally goes silent, man, because there's times where we just are not listening for so long, and he's always giving us like resources and opportunities to do better, and we don't take it. So he's like, all right, I'll go silent for a little bit, and then we freaking do something stupid, and then we learn something from it. We're like, all right, bro, all right.
He's like, you ready to listen?
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like a wake up. Like, are you gonna listen to me now? Because it's like
Exactly.
you see what happens when you don't listen, and a lot of these things is because it's like, yeah, there's things that God like allows to happen, but a lot of times God just lets us cause the trouble. You know, like I think for like both of you guys, it was probably just a lesson learned. Like,
Yeah, I think for me, I'm not sure if I talked about it on here, but like, I think there was a lot of irony in my accident. Like, kind of going back to, I think that God has a sense of humor because my car was all modded out. Right, when I had the black
Yeah.
Mustang, and I'd take it to go racing and all that. You know, I would speed when I shouldn't be, but I literally got into an accident from a stop sign, dude. Like, I wasn't speeding at all. I just miscalculated where the truck was coming from. You know, and I think for me it was more just because like I was focusing on the wrong stuff. I was focusing on the car a lot. You know, my relationship with God, it was right up there with the car, and it shouldn't have been. You know, so I think at least in my case, it was just bringing my focus way back to God, because it definitely wasn't there.
Real. I even feel I guess similarly now that you said that, it makes me realize even then when I had that car accident, when it humbled me, it was because I was more in a relationship with God. We're feeling like we were both at the same level, like me and God were at the same level, which is definitely not the case.
Dangerous.
I'll be all like, yeah,
Yeah,
God, we got this, bro. Like, we
Yeah,
got
yeah.
this, bro. Like, you know, and he's like, what do you mean, bro? He's like,
What do you mean we?
he's like, what do you mean we? He's like, bro, I got this,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm like, don't worry, God, I got this one. Like, you're like, you can take a step out right now. You don't need to. Jesus, don't take this wheel. I got this one.
Yeah.
And he was all like, what do you think this is an interchangeable? You can have me sometimes, have me not. Like,
it's like, oh really?
exactly. So,
I'll show you.
literally, bruh. And I do honestly think that is super crazy sometimes how God will just rearrange our priorities.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even my whole family was like, "Oh, yeah, you're driving a Chrysler, like it's a tank." Like, and I know even that I was like, "Oh, so I'm invincible. Got it.
Yeah.
Like I can do whatever I want. I'll survive." And
Yeah.
I'm like, doesn't mean the other people will. Doesn't
Exactly.
yeah. And even there's rare cases. Who knows what I'll run into? Something comes through the window instead, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Well,
man.
the car was probably really strong, but not the window."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro.
You ever seen a Final Destination?
Yeah,
The one with the logs. I think it was 3.
Exactly.
I'd be
Yeah,
scared
that's
driving
exactly
past
what I was
those.
thinking.
I always think about that. Like,
Oh, I never
whenever
get
I'm-
behind those cars anymore.
I have to speed past.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I like having a
Just in
fast car. Like, I'm
case.
just gonna go by you real quick. But
They be having the Final Destination posters on them now.
do they?
Yeah, there's
I haven't seen
one.
that.
I saw like a video where they put Final Destination poster on those log trucks. I was
shoot.
like, you guys are brutal for that
Literally.
one. I'm like, that's
It's
crazy.
the only time you'll see my Prius red line.
Yeah, right.
Try to go past the log
Oh,
truck.
man.
I was gonna ask, for the last question, like, through all those things that you guys have like been through. I mean, even me. Like, how did you find peace or clarity when things like that happened? Because I know, like, it's traumatizing. You know, I mean, like getting into those kind of accidents. That is traumatizing. You know. So how did you like recover from it, like spiritually? Like, how did you find peace and all that and clarity? Or maybe you're still trying to find it.
I gotta say, a big thing through it all has just been people, like family, friends have been one of the only ways I've been able to get through anything. Like I've been saying more recently, like even since my mom had her heart attacks, I know before I would call her every now and then. Like after I would get home, I would get off school or class at like 10, and I have this hour drive home. I would like call her sometimes then, but then there would be sometimes where I would just drive back in silence or listening to music or something else. And I'm like, there's so many better things that I probably could be doing, even just sitting in silence and praying.
Yeah.
But I would be doing all these other things. But I know one thing, like when my mom had those heart attacks, it's not that I realized like, oh, the frailty of life, but rather just I should be taking more actions to be like more together because this is family.
Yeah.
You know, and I know ever since I started calling her more and more often, that's been a huge thing that's been helping me get through stuff. Because I call her, and I don't think there's a single thing I can't talk to my mom about. I've told her every single situation, almost like all of my sins. I go through anything, whether it's like with girls or anything. My mom has just been the most rock person that I can go to. There's not a topic that's like off limits. Like I'll have like these really like crazy questions, and then she'll help me think through them. And I feel like people like her, even people like Jacob, sometimes like I know the other night I was just feeling crazy anxious and super worried for no reason. I was literally driving home from work, but it was after I closed and it was so late, and I called like 4 people, like no one was picking up, and I was like, I feel alone, and I felt scared. I was like, I don't have anyone right now. If something were to happen to me right now, I don't have anyone. And I started getting these super anxious feelings. And I called Jacob because I was like, of course I can call Jacob. He gets off late in the night. And
Yeah.
I called him and he was at work. And he'll just be working while on the phone with me. And I'm like, I've never met a brother that's so willing, midway through, like, because he'll be like, oh, hold on. He'll go on his radio and talk. And then he'll come back. He's like, oh, my bad, bro. And he's like literally balancing
Yeah.
work and life right there. And it's like, not like our conversations are short either. Like, our conversations sometimes be like 30, 40 minutes. And like, I would expect like maybe, oh, call me on your 10. But like, he just is like super loving, and like those are the type of people that really help me get through it, is the people that are just able to be there, listen, talk through things, relate on a
Yeah.
lot of different things. It's just, I don't know, I feel like it's super helpful to have people to be able to listen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think for me, ironically, it was more the clarity of how frail life is. But I think in my sense, like I was saying before, like I think I was focusing on the car, on my relationship, my worldly relationship with my wife, and not with my relationship with God. So I think that what helped me through it a lot was just I was I still constantly pray, but I was praying even more when that happened. Obviously I had the whole like God, why me moment for like a week. I got to
of
say at
course.
least, but people helped me a lot too. I think the biggest thing that that impacted me was, so when I posted that I got into the accident, I didn't do it for attention, but more like, okay, the car's gone, because that's what a lot of people knew me for,
Yeah.
at least in the car community. I think at least like 50 people asked me if I was okay. That to me is a lot. And so I've never received that kind of like support in that kind of thing, whether it was people from church or not. But just seeing that like that many people cared about me, I think my mindset shifted to, okay, like, because in the moment my mind was, okay, like God took the car from me. Yeah, he probably did, whatever. But it's more, okay, maybe he took it because he cares. That's where my focus was staying at, and the clarity that, okay, your relationship with God is way more important. That was what got me back into it. But also I think that it helped me just want to have, kind of going to what you said with family, like having deeper connection with my family as well, because my family is kind of broken too, and just wanting to have that deeper relationship with the people that I love. And obviously using this to hopefully inspire others to want to come to God, or even just help them, even as just to help with anxiety.
Yeah.
I think that God gave me that clarity to have that kind of tool now to want to help people. Because I've always kind of, I shared on one of the episodes, I've always kind of had that willingness to like be a big brother, wisdom kind of guy. But I think now that I've been through this, I'm like, okay, like I think God gave me that clarity, that maybe this is what he wants to use me for, So I think having that, the knowledge that perhaps that's what God wants to use me for, I think that's helped me a lot.
I appreciate you sharing that, 'cause that's huge. Just especially in an accent like that, it's kind of like you really just need the comfort of people, and I really do feel like that's God's way of just like, it's like, yeah, I know you went through that, but I'm still gonna, like, it's his way of just like, I'm here to comfort you still. I was like, you know, you learned your lesson, but I'm still here to like, it's like when you're saying like how your brother kind of like, he lets him get hit, but then he's just like, you see, but then he's like, but come here, like to comfort you. I feel like that's what
Yeah.
God did with you. Like,
Absolutely.
it didn't have to be all church people. It's kind of like God's just gonna use people that love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's huge, bro. But personally for me, I found clarity and realization. Honestly, was just the day that I almost like ended my life was when I was before doing it. But when I was about to do it was I just kind of like sat down, just cried a lot. Just felt like that's when I really was. My heart was just being pure to God at that point, because it was kind of like God, I'm feeling this and that. I was kind of always like holding my prayers a little bit, but that was when I was just letting it all out. And to my like in my mind, bro, what I just started doing was counting how many people love me with my fingers. And it came to the point where I was like, I went above 10, like 10 fingers. And that really showed me, like, okay, a lot of these people are people that have entered my life after I became a disciple. And I'm like, dang, bro, like, that was really, I felt like that was God showing me, like, the people that He's given me. And I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, dang, bro, like, what if how selfish am I to end my life when I have these people to love me? And that was my clarity right there, bro, because I was just like, man, that pushed me to not do it anymore. That's when I was like, I'm just going to seek the help. I need to seek help. And what I did that night, bro, and I ended up getting the help, changed my life. Changed my life forever, for sure.
I think that's crazy you share that because like I haven't shared on the podcast yet, and there's not a lot of people that know this, but I want to be vulnerable and open up about it. When I was a teenager, I had like my emo phase, but I for sure like had like suicidal thoughts. And there was plenty of times where I figured I could just end it. And there was one night I think my parents went out for a walk, and I was like really like thinking about it, and I actually fell asleep. And I truly believe God came to me in a vision, and I had a dream of my funeral. And everybody that was there just bawling. And so I woke up. Sorry.
It's good, man.
I woke up and, I've hadn't had a thought like that since then. Because kind of what you were saying, like there's all these people that love me. And who am I to take that away from them? And I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, it's big, man. I feel when people are thinking of that moment in their life, they're just in a moment of alone, just sadness and depressed, man. It sucks because it's like how much the enemy just works in people's like minds to just want to like think about taking their life.
Yeah.
And I'm super grateful to God. Like, I am grateful to God to this day. Just that I didn't go through with it, and that He put in my heart just to count how many people love me, and seeing how many people did. And I could have named way more too, but just seeing my hands at this part right here, and I just remember just seeing all the memories I had with each person. I was like, bro, they would be so hurt if I was gone. I'm like, I have a purpose. I have a mission, and God has not given up on me. And I feel because I was so stuck on wanting to deal with it on my own. And now looking back at it a year from now, like how I'm in a way better spot, I mean, I just got engaged. I'm freaking got a raise on my job. I got a promotion since then. I lost a lot of weight since that time. I was like dang near 250, and just seeing how much has changed since then. And it's all because I trusted God with His resources, and it's changed my life. So
Absolutely.
it's big, bro. It's big. It's also this episode was. It's a little
Deep.
mean. It was deep, man. It
That
was
one went deep.
But I'm really I'm really glad we did this episode because it was like we really just have 3 questions, bro. But you just see how the Spirit just works in just 3 questions, But I want to say thank you, Cam, for just being out here in this episode, man. We definitely want to keep adding like more guests on here. But it was cool to just hear your story and I really hope someone can connect to your story of just. The struggles of growing up in the church or, thinking people are invisible. Like the way that was said,
That's a common mindset for men, man.
Exactly.
So.
I really appreciate you sharing that and just being vulnerable. And when you were speaking, man, we really love that. We appreciate that, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. It's definitely amazing.
Yeah.
Really great talk.
Yeah, bro. I'm just, honestly, I mean, seeing our podcast from like the beginning, I know that we don't have like a huge number, bro, but just seeing 51 subscribers, like that shows, man, like people are getting touched by it. And
we have pretty consistent views too. Like, so even if the numbers aren't huge, like people are watching our videos.
And I I just can't be more grateful to God just to see that what was just like an idea that I thought was probably gonna die, honestly, in my mind, because I've done podcasts and I was just like, it's probably gonna die out, but part of me just feels like it could be so much more, and I'm just like, this is gonna be good.
This is gonna be the video that gets 1 million views because of you, Cam.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But man, I'm really excited, man. Just truly grateful that I even have 50 subscribers, bro.
Yeah,
like
man.
that's actually crazy.
No, that's amazing.
Because people have to legit go on YouTube and just put subscribe. It's easier to get followers than subscribers, honestly.
Exactly.
And just seeing how our TikTok has been touching a lot of people, like the people that comment, I'm like, dang, bro, like they actually feel, they relate to it.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping, man, it continues. That God keeps blessing it, but. That's pretty much it.
Sorry, it's funny you were saying, because when you were gone, me and Cam were talking about how, like, a lot of bigger channels have like teams that like do this for them, because like we're setting everything up and it takes time, and we were like, man, like, yeah, it'd be nice to eventually get to that point where like we're that big and people want to do this for us, but also like that's not why we're here.
Exactly.
Like whatever happens, whether we stay in this room and keep 100 views per video, if that, like, as long as we're reaching out to one person, as long as it's 100 people that are listening, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah,
a lot more people than a lot of people can reach on like a college campus, or it's like just even those 100 views, something that they can rewatch, come back to. I mean, God glory given if people like come back to it as like a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, that person went through the same struggle. I need to rehear what they said. And I feel like that's the amazing part, why sometimes God is like silent and lets us go through these things. He's like, I need to give you a story or something relatable so you can talk to this person that I'm going to put in your life here in about a week.
Yeah.
And the amount of times that happens, the second you go through something, someone else goes through it right after, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a snowball of events to where I'm going to help them, and then they're going to help the next person, and the next thing you know, it's going to stop somewhere, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's beautiful, man. Anyways, guys, I am really excited to release this episode. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry we skipped another weekend.
We got engaged, that's why. So we can't hate.
But honestly, it's only because like we really tried to do 2 episodes just to kind of give you guys at least content. But whatever we do not miss. I would encourage you to just keep watching the other videos. They're truly. It's great stuff. I think someone literally commented yesterday on our YouTube.
Oh, really?
It was a good comment. I was like, dang, that's amazing, man. So I'm just hoping, it continues to grow. I'm praying that God is just, is putting his hand on this podcast, and that everything that happens is going to be for his glory. So other than that, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm Jacob.
I'm Armando.
And we are the Gospel Guys.